Hello, welcome back to FT Markets. There's an election in Brazil this weekend and investors have been getting very excited about the prospect of a change of government. In the past few days, however, opinion polls have suggested that the incumbent, the left-wing Dilma Rousseff, might be getting her lead back again. So joining me here from Sao Paulo to discuss what's going on is Joe Leahy, the FT's Brazil Bureau Chief. Joe, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks, Jonathan.
We're going to show a couple of charts. The first one shows the recent history of Brazil's quarterly GDP. It's been quite erratic, and in the first half of this year, the economy actually went into recession. You'd think that would be a very tough call for the president to get herself elected, but although some Brazilians want change, an awful lot of them still supporting her. How can that be with the economy almost tanking like this?
Yes, it's a very strange situation indeed for observers from outside, especially those in developed markets where economic growth is equated with well-being. Here in Brazil, the key statistic that we need to look at is the fact that unemployment remains very low. The priority of the PET government under Dilma has been to preserve jobs, and they've done a very good job of this. Unemployment is around 5%, which for Brazil is a very low rate. So I think people are looking like they do anywhere in the world at their at the bottom line, which is their pocket. And they feel that it may be safer to stick with Dilma than to risk change.
But even so, with GDP falling, there's no feeling in the country that the economy might need to be in safer hands to protect jobs in the future?
Yes, here on the streets of Sao Paulo, where we're standing at the moment, people do have a consciousness of how the economy works, and economic growth is important for the future well-being of the country. But if you go travel wider through Brazil, you'll find people don't have such a sophisticated understanding of the way things work. They're more concerned with a few basic principles, such as we said, whether or not they have a job, are they receiving social welfare benefits, and inflation. Inflation in Brazil is high, but not as high as it has been in the past. So this is leading a good part of the population to stick with Dilma.
Okay, let's just have a look at what's happened in the build-up to the election. We've got a second chart here showing the opinion polls for Dilma Rousseff, the president, Marina Silva, her main challenger, and Aécio Neves, who's the centre-right candidate who's been in third place. We can see an inverse relationship between Dilma's performance and the Sao Paulo Stock Exchange Index, the Bovespa. Basically, as Dilma went down recently and Marina went up, and even Aécio a bit, stocks went up in celebration of an impending change of government, and now that's all changed. Dilma has recovered a lot of lost ground. Stocks have plummeted. There was a poll, as you know, out a couple of days ago showing Dilma with quite a big lead. Stocks have lost 5% in the last 2 trading days. How can it be that investors so much want to change, and yet voters don't really seem to care so much?
Yes, there's quite a funny remark by Lula a couple of days ago, where he said that he never asked the markets to vote for him. Dilma never asked them to vote for her, and look how they've done. They've won the last 3 or 4 elections. It's a slightly facetious comment, as we know, because Lula he was market friendly in his first term. But having said that, the markets are something that are a little bit abstract, I think, for the majority of the voters who vote for the PT these days. These people are people who earn 1 to 2 minimum wages. They live quite often in the northeast of the country, a long way from the financial capital here in Sao Paulo. And they're people who have recently risen into the lower middle class, or they may even still be living in poverty. So their concern is much more with the day-to-day, whether or not they have a job, than with the markets. The markets, on the other hand, of course, are worried about intervention, economic growth in the future earnings. And for them, the last 4 years have been practically an unmitigated disaster.
And what's your feeling for the second round? As things become more equal, the 2 candidates, if they do go into a second round, will have equal advertising time. So is that going to be to Marina or Aécio's advantage, or is Dilma really pulling ahead?
I think if Marina gets through to the second round, she'll be able to give Dilma a good run for her money. She's a good campaigner, a good speaker. She needs to make some adjustments in her campaign. She needs to attack much more Dilma. She'll have the time to do it. We just have to see whether or not she's willing to really go for the jugular and try and win this election, whether she really wants it that much. if Aesio gets into the final round, it'll be anyone's guess. He's been improving a lot lately in the ratings, in the polls. He was a bit of an unknown coming into the election. He was governor of Minas Gerais before, Minas Gerais state, where he's very well known, but throughout the rest of the country there's not a lot of name recognition. So he's really fighting this election from behind, but it looks like he's gaining. In the last poll, he looked like he was catching up with Marina, and he could even deliver a shock and make it into the second round. But at this stage, given some polls that were released this week, one showing Dilma as much as 9 percentage points ahead in the second round, I think Marina now has her work cut out for her. If Dilma widens this lead to above 10 points this week, then I think then Dilma must be the favourite.
Joe, thanks very much indeed. Quite a turnaround of events then. Dilma used to be the favourite, she is again. If Aécio Neves, that Joe was talking about, were to get into the second round, that would send markets into a real tears. He's the one they really want. So it's a big day on Sunday and a huge day on October the 26th when we should get the final result.